100 years of style and design pass from master to protege, from humble beginnings to stardom. Freddie French, born in 1910, rose from humble beginnings to become the talk of London. This entrepreneur owned 30 salons and a product line, a self-taught artist who never learnt how to read or write. But this did not stop him from building an empire.
The artist is Freddie French, a well-known hairstylist, and the waxy busts he's making are display models for a salon in London's West End. It's with these models that he experiments in the elaborate hairdos he's always dreaming up. They're his guinea pigs.
His natural artistic skills attracted the rich and the famous. So it was imperative that this artist took elocution lessons to learn how to converse with his high society clients. Freddie's techniques and designs were ahead of his time, gracing the pages of Vogue magazine, television and movies. He was a superstar in the world of hair, a mentor to many, which must have inspired Vidal Sassoon to seek employment with Freddie French of London. Mentor2Prodigy. Vidal Sassoon's groundbreaking geometric designs were born out of classic training. This rebellious master certainly learnt the rules before he broke the rules.
We don't need a plane to recapture the romantic atmosphere of Spain, for at London's Dorchester Hotel, Vidal Sassoon, Mayfair's youngest hairstylist, presents a new vogue, the Toro line. With or without the Dali-like trimmings, it looks as though the new styles will catch on. Although to long-suffering husbands, whatever the style, it must just make as big a hole in their pockets.
To discover new horizons, you must have the courage to lose sight of the shore. Vidal had the courage to feel the fear and do it anyway.
If you're not misunderstood, you're not doing your job. You're not being creative. The eye is a fascinating thing. Very often, most people, it takes 2 years to get hold of a new idea, to be able to see it and to understand it. They can't understand a new idea immediately. None of us can. So being misunderstood is part of being intuitively forward-thinking. Most of it comes from that sense of gut. And you're cutting shapes and angles, and suddenly things started to happen. But it took 9 years before we got into that full geometric, before we came out with the 5-point card and the Nancy Kwan bob. You get scared because you're not sure whether you're going to pay the rent next month.
Mentor2Prodigy. Trevor Sorbie, the most award-winning stylist of our time, was even honoured by the Queen of England for his contributions to British hairdressing. Trevor realised that great beginnings last a lifetime. With a strong classic training, he joined Vidal Sassoon and worked through the ranks, and even in the early days, he was making history.
I was in this South Monk Street salon one day trying this one-length haircut, and I thought, well, that hasn't worked at all. So just by chance, I brushed it back to sort of try and get something out of it, and I just noticed that this hair was just going out like almost like a pyramid sort of shape. And Christopher Brooker was in the salon that day, the international artistic director, and he came over and he went, "We'll photograph that." I said, "Really?" And in those days, to have a Vidal Sassoon photograph, you know, not done by either Roger or Christopher or Vidal was, you know, a big thing, certainly in my books. And it was the first haircut that ever received a double-page spread in English Vogue. And I think the feeling that went through my body at that time was, if I can do that once, I can do it again.
All the great masters have one thing in common: desire, that has fueled their talent. Their greatness was born out of passion and not obligation.
The lesson I've learned is that if you want something in life, it's not about a Harvard Business School training. It's not about a silver spoon in your mouth. It's not about anything. It's about being passionate about something that you love to do, and it can give you and fulfill any of your wildest dreams.
Mentor2Prodigy. The best advice I was ever given was to work for the greatest and never compromise the standard. photograph my work, and forever be a lifelong student, develop discipline and diversity of technical skills. Always embracing change, I was encouraged to run towards the challenge and not away. My mentors inspired a relentless determination to succeed. I am thankful for pedigree training, the London College of Fashion, Vidal Sassoon, Trevor Sorbie, and many more mentors along the way. As artistic director for both companies, I was pushed to new levels, but it was not without a lot of challenges along the way.
Auditioning for Trevor Sorbie was torture. He sat there like this. Just watched me. And at the end of it, he said, "Do you call yourself a hairdresser?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "No, you're not." I thought, "Well, what did I just do?" He said, "You cut hair, but you can't dress hair." So I said, "Okay, well, I'll learn."
My greatest achievements were not the awards that I won during my career. What has been most satisfying is the joy of seeing my students soar and become stars.
I decided for me to make a career in hairdressing, I have to go to England, because that's where it's happening. It's not happening in Holland, that was for sure. So I decided then to go to see Trevor Sorbie. And knocked on Trevor's door, and he said, "Okay, you've got to do 2 models. That's common practice in England." So I did 2 models, and I thought they were the best thing I'd ever done. Only to find out they're probably the 2 worst haircuts I ever did in my life. Some salon manager who said, "We'll send you a letter. We let you know how you'd done." So I went back to Holland because I was there only for a weekend, and never got a letter. So I thought, I'll phone up Trevor Sorbie myself. So I got on the phone. "Hello, yeah, is that Trevor Sorbie from Holland?" And then he said, yeah, like he does. And I said, "I haven't got my letter yet." And it's very Antoinette. And then he said, "We'll make sure you get a letter." So I got a letter a week later, and it says, "Dear Antoinette, thank you for your interest, but no thank you." And I thought, you know what, Trevor Sorbie, whether you like it or not, I'm coming to work for you. I don't care what it takes. I ended up finding a job in Covent Garden, which was where Trevor Sorbie's salon was. So then I got interviewed again, walked past, and you know who took me on? Vivian McKinder. After 2 weeks, they said, "You know what, the training is going to take a little longer, Antoinette, but we'll give you a job as an assistant. Would you be up for it?" Now, bearing in mind, when I left Holland, I was a manager. So I went from manager back to junior, but it was the best investment I've ever made, ever.
We see the end result of a beautiful salon, product line, photographic collection. But what we do not see is the struggle behind the result, which is not always easy.
Where I was starting to get a little bit of confidence, and I did this thing that I should never have attempted, and it was a nightmare, and it was this big back home huge thing that apparently I got lost behind and you couldn't see me anymore and whatever. But I remember Trevor said to me at our debrief after, "Don't you ever do a hairstyle like that again and put my name on it." And I spent a lot of time crying, anyway, in my training. I'm a very emotional person. But those are the lessons that did profoundly change me, because, yeah, it was a piece of crap. And why was I thinking it wasn't, and that it was okay, and good for him. Courage, to me, doesn't mean not being afraid. It took me a long time to learn that, because I used to think being afraid meant that I was a coward. But courage is being afraid and just doing it anyway.
As a hairdresser, we are a limited resource. To determine our success, we must set goals and remember that investing time will bring us closer to our goals, while wasting time will take us further away. You may have to sacrifice along the way, like the mentors in this film, who gave up much in order to gain something far greater. Today, set goals. It is a choice to be a visionary, fence-sitter, or resistor. Whose team will you join? Your first goal is to find your mentors for leadership, a study buddy for support, and give back by passing on your knowledge. In the movie Braveheart, William Wallace said, "Every man dies. Not every man really lives." I dare you, reach for your star.